The Help is a movie based on the book by Catherine Stockett. Catherine based the stories in her book off of real-life experiences or stories she heard from friends and family. The characters in the movie aren't real, but their lives are supposed to represent what really went on during the 1960s. The movie is about white Southern families in Jackson, Mississippi, who all have African-American maids. Throughout the story, they deal with racism, but with the help of a young white girl who decides to write a book on the help's perspective, they overcome their difficulties and start to make a difference. One historical inaccuracy seen in this movie is the sugarcoating of how the African Americans were treated. During the movie, they show that they were treated unfairly, but not as much as they were in reality. A couple times, the maids get away with things barely punished that in real life would have had major consequences. One thing the movie does depict correctly is the Jim Crow laws put into action and the restrictions on African Americans. In a couple scenes, it is mentioned that the maids are not allowed to use the bathrooms in the house because they can spread diseases to the white people. This was a common misconception in the 60s, and African Americans were often given bathrooms outside to use and were punished if caught sharing one with a white. One of the white women in town creates a home health sanitation initiative to create outside bathrooms in all homes, and although this wasn't a real thing, many people did create separate bathrooms for the maids. This follows the idea of separate but equal, believed by many whites at the time. In the scene shown next is an example of one family implementing the separate bathrooms in a situation where the maid Minnie, in normal circumstances, would be punished more severely, but gets off less harsh than normal.
Miss Hilly. Never mind.
You go on ahead and use the inside bath, Minnie. It's all right.
Oh, for crying out loud, it's just a little rain. She can go on up and get an umbrella from William's study.
I believe she was working for me before you dragged us both here. Daddy ruined you.
I'm just gonna get your tea.
Minnie.
Minnie, are you in there?
Yes, ma'am.
And just what are you doing?
Get off my toilet! Oh! You are fired, Minnie Jackson!
Abilene, are you enjoying your new bathroom over at Elizabeth's? Nice to have your own. Isn't it, Abilene?
Yes, ma'am. And I thank you.
Separate, but equal. That's what Ross Barnett says, and you can't argue with the governor.
Well, certainly not in Mississippi, birthplace of modern-day government.
Some other true facts mentioned in The Help were the shooting of Medgar Evers and MLK's March on D.C. In the scene of Medgar's death, Abilene, an African-American maid, is riding the bus home from work when she hears of the news. She is sitting in the back of the bus while the whites sat in the front to show that the buses were still segregated and unfair. When the bus driver comes to Abilene's neighborhood where the shooting has occurred, he makes the African-Americans get off and walk so the whites aren't in danger. This also would have been common in the 60s because the white safety would have always been put first. Medgar Evers, field secretary for the NAACP, was shot by the KKK in his front yard. The death of this activist is true, and the scene depicting the fear of Abilene and other African Americans in the neighborhood is also accurately portrayed.